Hey guys, and welcome to the Natty Blueprint podcast. This is episode 14. We have a very special guest on here today. A man who taught me bodybuilding, 10 years ago probably? Gave me my first ever PT session back when I was young and naive. But yes, welcome Justin to the podcast. Would you like to just start off the podcast by giving us a little bit of an introduction about yourself, maybe how you got into bodybuilding and, where you've taken it from there?
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, like, what was that, 10 years ago, 2015, I think I was working in what was probably known as Fitness First back then as a PT. And I think you reached out to me, and I know your mum as well from training in a gym. So, um, so where did my bodybuilding journey start? I have always loved bodybuilding since probably I think I was 13 when I first got my first set of weights over 40 years ago. I'm 54 now. Got my first set of dumbbells. They was like little plastic dumbbells. I used to do like 100 curls on each arm every night. And I remember I saw my first ever bodybuilding magazine. It was Bodybuilding Monthly, and I saw the guys on the front cover, and I was like, wow, that just inspired me. And then round about that times, we're talking sort of like mid 80s is when all the Stallone and all the Schwarzenegger movies were coming out, and that me and my mates, that just like we were sold on that then. So I had my own weights in my bedroom, and we used to really push each other like just insane sessions where we'd be like trying to outbench each other, like pushing down on the bar when we're trying to bench up. They was just like doing everything, going for the pump and whatever, and it was fantastic. And then we discovered that local gyms that we could train at, and we were probably those annoying 15, 16 year olds, five of us all huddled around a bench press that we see in the gyms today. So I try and cut them a bit of slack, as frustrating as it can be when you see them. And I think, fuck, that was me. That was me back then. And like, I've always played around with weights for quite a while. Then it's been an on off relationship for most of my life because of like being married and raising kids and all that. And then when I hit 40, somebody said to me, "Why don't you do a bodybuilding competition?" And you know, I I didn't know that natural competitions even existed, and they'd competed naturally with the BMBF. So I thought, well, I'm 40. Let's just try and get in the best shape of my life, and that was my aim. And I knew nothing about it. And that first prep in 2010, I completed in 2011 with the BMBF in the Masters over 40s. And that first prep was your typical fish and rice. I knew nothing. I thought there was magic foods. Everyone thinks like, oh, if I need to get ripped, I need to eat these foods, and if I'm not, then that's why. So did that. Didn't place. Probably come last, but I just fell in love with it, and I thought I can do better, and I was hooked on it. And every year I competed, still didn't come anywhere. And then 2015, I competed, qualified for a British qualifier, went to the British qualifiers, which was all I wanted to do was get on the finals British stage. Did that, didn't place there, but I was happy. I was like in close to as good a condition as I could have dreamt of. Planned to have a couple of years off. Life took over. I got divorced. I got remarried. And then just by chance, 7 years later, so in 2022, I'd got in reasonable condition for a holiday. And I thought, I reckon I could have another go. So I
Nice.
did. I had another stab at it, and did really well. Came second, placed for the British finals. Went to the British finals and got top five placing after 7 years off. At this time in the over 50s, Masters over 50s, again with the BMBF, and that's kind of where we are up to date with that.
Nice. Yeah. I remember seeing you in the gym group a
Yes,
couple of years ago.
yes,
I can't remember when I joined, but I think you was prepping then.
probably.
So yeah, I think that was one of our first interactions, I think.
Yes, yes, I
Um,
remember. I
yeah.
remember.
Yeah. So it's been a journey for you. It's been a journey for me. So we both evolved a little bit, which is pretty cool.
How long have you been training for now?
Uh, Training probably 2 to 3 years,
Yeah,
but in the gym probably around 11 years now. So I got my
yeah,
first membership when I was 18, 29 now.
yeah,
So yeah, it's been a while, but like anyone when they first start up, it's just complete nonsense, not having a clue what you're doing.
yeah,
Always your typical, let's just try and eat as little as possible and try and grow. and then wonder why you're not growing.
Yeah.
So it'd always be chicken and vegetables, a
Yeah, no carbs.
protein shake after the gym, thinking it will magically make me.
Walking out the gym with your protein shaker.
Not even walking out of it, in the changing rooms probably. But yeah, like
Anabolic window in.
yeah, literally. So yeah, it's been a bit of a change, but I started training in my first ever gym was what's the one by Tesco Park Farm? It's that tiny little
Oh,
gym.
yes. I
Yeah,
can't think what it's called, but
I
yeah,
can't
I
remember what
know
it's
it.
called. Yeah, tiny little gym.
There's like a little community centre there, isn't there?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. Yeah, so that was my first iteration into the gym.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And
So
here you
Justin,
are
in
now.
terms of like where you are now, then is your competing aspirations or your competing days over, or are you kind of still thinking about it? Like maybe every year it kind of crosses your mind.
Every year it crosses my mind. And yeah, my competing days aren't over, definitely. But I'm not obsessed with competing. I think when I first started, I was I was like trying to improve, and I think you guys know as doing it naturally, it's really hard to improve year on year because like you spend like 3 to 6 months dieting. By the time you get yourself back to normal, your growing phase is so small. But I mean, I was fortunate. I think I did make really quite good improvements from 2011, 12, 13, and up to 15. But I think that's because although I'd had years behind me of training, but not, as you know, not training properly, you're not eating properly, and
Yeah.
so of doing it properly. So I think I had, even at 40, I think I had newbie gains, and I think that's where a lot of people kind of um, misunderstand. They think, oh, you can't build much muscle past 40 or 50 and all these sorts of things. And it's like you definitely can. I think the reason people think that is they see people that are 40 and 50 that probably have been doing it for years, have probably reached their potential, their genetic potential. And it's like, well, you're not going to get much else. But someone like me that was, although I've been doing it a long time, but starting properly at 40,
Yeah.
I'm a newbie,
Yeah.
effectively.
Like actually starting bodybuilding as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, as regards to competing again, so 2022 was horrific, the worst experience I've had with the prep. I'll go into the details of that later, but I'm glad I did what I did, and I'm really glad I proved it to myself that I could do it. But like, I'm loving my training now. I'm loving staying on top of things. In the back of my mind is I'm going to compete. If I didn't compete until I was 60, I mean, I'm 55 this year, so it's not that far away. But I'd like to do the over 60s. So I've like done the British finals in my 40s. I've now done it in my 50s. If I could do it in the 60s, brilliant. I think my wife would divorce me if I was to do it again because she'd never experienced prep before. She'd never
Yeah.
experienced it. And as you know, if you've got a partner, it's fucking hard. They don't get it, and that's no disrespect to them. It's an extreme sport, and it's a very
Yeah.
selfish one, and you have to be like a robot almost, switch your emotions off. And for my wife, we've only been together since late 2016, early 2017. So she's never known me prepping. And then all of a sudden she was like, where's my husband gone?
Yeah.
Not just physically, because as you know, you just disappear, but like emotionally I was dead, and your libido goes, it's just like, so yeah, she didn't enjoy the experience. Yeah.
What would you say was like the hardest part of that from like a family perspective?
Um, the family not understanding really. Like I
Yeah.
say, my wife didn't really understand just what it entails. She'd never experienced anything like that before. Her family, so her parents, they didn't understand it either, and they was like,
Yeah.
I mean, they were saying to me, God, I'll be glad when this is over. And I'm thinking, fucking hell,
Yeah.
thanks. I'll be
Yeah.
glad when it's over, but, let's just try and, go with it for now. But they didn't get it, and I don't blame them for that because it is extreme. I think
Yeah.
the hardest part of that for me was trying to, and as you guys probably know that as well, is you're trying to maintain as normal life as possible so it doesn't affect your loved ones. That's why you nail your food prep and you're regimented so that you can try and be there for meals, even though you might be taking your stuff with you or weighing out what you go have in a restaurant and stuff like that. But you're trying to be as present as possible with your loved ones and have as normal life
Yeah.
while being on it. And that's the hard balance. But I found that, so when I when I got to the British finals, I went on a 2-week holiday to Turkey because my in-laws got a villa out there, so we go out there a lot. And we had our 2 weeks out there, and there's a gym that I use locally and everything, and I could cook my own food, and I managed to do all that. But I was still on holiday for 2 weeks with my wife, and we had friends out there, and we were all wanting to go out and socialise. And I'm just the most boring fucker, miserable, dizzy, tired, everything. And literally, when we flew back, I was competing like 3 days after we landed. It was shit. And everyone that saw me on holiday, like all my Turkish friends that we know out there and we socialise, they thought I had a serious illness because they never seen me so skinny in life. And they were saying to my wife, "What's up with Justin?
Is he all right?"
Yeah, they thought I had some serious illness because what it's like the face goes, and like I was just like, and it was worse as well because, all right, it looks good for pictures, but where I was so lean, like my arse disappeared, like I was vascular everywhere, and I'm laying on the beach and people are like just giving odd looks because I just look like a skinned rabbit, but a vascular skinned rabbit. Yeah, it weren't a good experience.
Yeah,
That's going to be tough managing
Yeah.
prep on a holiday.
Yeah.
very close to
Yeah,
show
very
day
good.
as well.
You probably started peak week out there.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I think I've always prepped myself because I find it really difficult to trust someone else. That's a real dilemma for me. So I've always prepped myself, and I've always prepped very different. I'll try new things. And this last prep, I didn't weigh a single thing. I guessed everything.
No way.
Yes.
I was speaking to is it Fez is his name? The
Yeah.
guy.
Bishan.
Yeah, that's it. He said the same thing. He was like, "Yeah, get Justin on," and it was like, "Oh, funny you said that. We've actually got him on." He was like, "Yeah, he never weighed any of his stuff. He just looked at it."
Yeah,
Which I
I just
found
guessed.
crazy.
Well, I think you can have a rough idea, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can
I mean,
have a
it
rough
works. Like,
idea.
if
But I wouldn't. I think for your average person that wants to get in a bit of good shape, and you could probably guess it.
yeah,
But then again, to guess it, you got to have a lot of experience.
yeah, of eating the same food over
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And like I say, I think when I was out in Turkey, I think I was barely on 1,000 calories a day towards the end. It was like I was eating 15 egg whites, like just boiled egg whites. That was my breakfast with some cucumber. Lunch would be just chicken salad. Evening meal, fish and salad. And I'd have a protein shake during the day. It was just grim. It was grim. And I
Yeah.
think, if I'd have had someone having another pair of eyes on me, if I'd have been weighing stuff and tracking my calories and macros, I probably could have done a little bit better.
yeah,
But I didn't want to go down that weighing stuff. I mean, that is the right way to go. Don't get me wrong. But I was like, no, I'm not fucking weighing food.
yeah. Out of curiosity, what do you do? I'm assuming you're somewhat on it with food and tracking. Are you weighing food now?
No.
No, just
No.
enjoying food.
So the way I've got to myself now, like in the last probably couple of years, I eat the same meals every day. If I'm in a gaining phase, there's a bit more carb element added to it, and if I want to cut, I just cut that out. So I'll give you a really quick example. So like breakfast is porridge, oats, berries, and protein powder.
Yep.
My lunch is eggs and bread, usually sourdough, because that just digestion wise that sits really nice with me.
Yep.
Evening meal, I don't worry about that because it's always a good solid bit of protein, whether that be steak, chicken or fish, with some form of vegetables and some form of carb, rice or potato. And then my evening meal is Greek yogurt with banana and granola. So when I'm gaining, I know I eyeball it, and I do have cups to measure some stuff, but I'm not actually weighing it.
Yep.
So that if I want to lose weight, I go, right, well, instead of 5 scoops of oats, I'm going to have 3. Instead of granola in my Greek yogurt, I'm going to take that out. And instead of half a loaf of sourdough bread, I might have 2 slices. And therefore, I've lost probably over 1,000 calories straight away. So I kind of go in, right, that's my gaining. And if I want to lose, I'll just cut them bits out.
Yeah.
And I've found that that's working pretty well. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it works if you're eating all the same stuff. Just by removing some of the stuff, you're going to be in a deficit. So
yeah.
It
And
makes
that
sense.
will get you in reasonable shape. But like I say, for stage, it's just,
Eating egg whites and salad.
well, you know what it's like. You never feel like you're ever lean enough.
Yep.
So then you think, oh, I need to either do more or eat less. And, if if I know I can get lean on 2,000 calories a day and pretty lean on that, then why do I need to drop it below that? But in your head, you think, oh, I need to drop it. And I
Yeah.
think at some point as well, what's happening is we become less active. And I'm not one of those that loves cardio, and I don't track my steps. So you're already probably moving a lot less.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you probably
Just
do need to drop your
subconsciously,
food. You know, your body's trying to conserve energy. It's trying to do everything it can to conserve energy, and you just fucked all the time. You feel like sleeping all the time, so your step count is naturally lower. So I think what a lot of guys like you are doing now and have been for a long time is tracking those steps,
Yeah.
which I've never done. I think if I was to ever do it again, and I will do it again, I just need to be more accountable and have more things that I can control and be accountable to, rather than just winging it, because that's what I did. But winging it worked,
It worked, yeah.
but I wouldn't advise it. I was fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
calories a day.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous. I remember I was on holiday, and every time I tried to get up off the sunbed, I just went dizzy, and I think I'm going to black out, and I'm having to hold on to like the umbrella. And my wife's going, fucking awesome. And I'm like, hold on, I'll be all right in a minute. It's
Just
just
going
ridiculous.
hypo. Give me a sec.
Yeah, it's insane. So I think if I'd have had another pair of eyes, they could have said, look, get some carbs in you, up your calories a bit. You're still looking okay, but it's so hard, isn't it, to be objective when you guys know, when you're so deep in it, you see yourself, you get up one morning, you look at yourself and you think, yeah, I'm on it. And then literally a minute later, you can glance around in the mirror and think, I don't even look like I've ever been to the gym.
So true.
And it's the biggest head fuck. And then all you get is your loved ones go, oh, why don't you just have this or just have that? Or you look all right. And it's like, with all due respect, they haven't got a clue.
It is difficult. I remember in my first prep, I did all of it until I was 6 weeks out. And
Yeah.
I just lost my head. I was doing stupid shit, and I literally just went to a coach after that, because I was like, I have no knowledge in this game. Even like I was more worried about how I was going to peak myself, but I had no muscle as a teen, so there's no point even peaking me anyway.
Yeah.
But it was just crazy. Like I just remember trying to take away food, like go over my step count, and I always thought more was better. So
Yeah.
I was just constantly going more. So more steps, more cardio, less food. But yeah, I won a couple of trophies that season, but still, that was the worst prep I went through, because it was
Yeah.
just me.
And
Just being,
did you feel like you didn't present your best?
yeah, I don't know. 2022 wasn't a great season for me either. So, but that was probably like my best look in terms of like the leanness and the condition I got. But I was a
Yeah.
teen, so I didn't have the muscle maturity there
Yeah.
to really stand out. But yeah, like it was just a crazy prep, that one. And then 2022 was another crazy prep for a whole different situation.
It's life lessons. That's what I say.
Yeah, life lessons. Hopefully this
Yeah.
one's going to be good.
It will be.
So you've just started prep now, haven't you, Max?
Today, in
Yeah.
fact. Yeah, 28 weeks out.
28 weeks out.
Yeah.
And what sort of body weight are you sitting at the moment?
So I'm around 194 to 195 pounds at the moment. I reckon I'm going to be about 160 on stage.
Really?
I reckon inside
How
out,
tall are you?
6 foot.
Really?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Inside out, I think I'm going to be around 160. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But at the end
We'll
of the
be
day, if
similar
you
weights
put it in
then. I'll bet that.
perspective, it's not that much weight to lose in 28 weeks.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. And,
So-
though, I mean, I remember back in the day, everyone was doing a 12-week prep. That was the thing when it was 12 weeks of fish and rice, and that was
Yeah.
it. But, luckily everyone's realised that take it slow and steady and get there early and give yourself plenty of time and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, mine is excessive. Like at 28 weeks, I've never started a client at 28 weeks out.
No.
I think the earliest I've started a client is 25. So yeah, for me but all my shows are back-to-back weekends this year. So I
Right.
have to be 100% for that first show, because I've got a show the weekend after and the weekend after that. So I can't really do anything. It's not like I have a 4 to 6 week gap where I can take off a little bit more. It's going to be like,
Yeah.
you have to be ready because you've got back-to-back shows. So
Yeah.
that's why I was doing it nice and early. And, if I'm ready early, then I might jump into an earlier one. We will see. But my main focus is the one in 28 weeks.
but sitting at 190 to start your prep is a good position to start in. What's the heaviest you've ever started a prep?
205 is the heaviest I've started.
Right.
But so in my 2022 prep and this prep, I've done a pre-prep diet. So last year from July to September, I think I did
Yeah.
like a pre-prep diet. No, July till maybe October. I did a pre-prep diet, and I was up at like 220 at that point, and then I pulled it all the way down to 180, and then I kind of pushed back up 15 pounds over the
Yeah.
course of from November to now, and then now I'm ready to start prep lighter, which is always like a good thing. If you plan to compete, like, look at doing that like a little pre-prep diet, which doesn't have to be like as you don't have to be as 100% into it like you would a prep. Like I was still having some meals out every now and then, still socializing a little bit, but I still took off majority of the body weight. So I'm now starting in a leaner position. So hopefully on paper, I'll be able to retain muscle. I'll be able to
Yeah.
retain my performance, and I shouldn't have to go on dust protocol and eat 1,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not what we want. Not what
No,
we want.
Yeah. Exactly. I think yeah, definitely starting at a better condition at a. I wouldn't want to just say lighter body weight because it's not all about a scale as we know, but being in a leaner condition to
Yeah,
start your prep is definitely the answer.
yeah, and having food in a good spot as well before you
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
having
Yeah,
all
that's
your
one
sports
thing.
available.
Yeah, it's one thing that I've noticed this time round. Like food was a lot higher. We've
Right.
only just made adjustments, haven't we, Max? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
much. I think I was what 6 pounds lighter than I was last prep.
yeah.
Right.
So
So
yeah, you
yeah,
started
6 pounds
lighter,
lighter,
you
food
started
higher.
with more tools.
Yeah,
So
You,
what weight are you sitting at now, Denny?
169 this morning.
Really?
Yeah, I'm.
Jesus.
I'll fly away in the wind soon.
Jesus, that's
Yeah,
what's your height?
5'9", 5'10" if I'm on dating profiles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
So
yeah, like
what weight do you think you're going to be competing at? Have you got much else to come off?
there's probably about another 10 to 12 pounds to come off.
Yeah,
yeah, I
Yeah,
think he'll probably see the mid 150s at like lightest depleted, but he'll probably be on stage around high 150s to maybe even 160.
yeah, yeah,
His best look last year, and I think Danny, you said this is like was around 160.
yeah, definitely.
So it's just kind of getting into that spot. But the thing is, Denny's is smooth sailing at the moment, so it's actually a
Yeah,
case of we made changes, but we'll probably be having a few more high days and stuff.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because we already had a couple of high days, didn't we?
Yeah,
Back to back, which I was quite surprised with. It was quite early on. I was like, okay, sweet, high days.
And how do you respond to those high days?
Energy wise, like I feel it pretty much immediately. I wasn't really fatigued at all at that point anyway, really.
Yeah,
Training performance is a little bit up and kind of that just bit of extra oomph.
yeah.
Scale weight was up for 2 or 3 days, but it dropped off pretty quickly after that. So it was kind of just like that sort of,
What does it do to you though? Like when you see that scale weight go up?
if it's planned, like it's a planned higher day, it doesn't really affect me that much
Right,
because
okay.
in my head it's just like more food, more water, more food weight as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So it doesn't really skew me off. If, for example, I was digging and then suddenly I saw a big spike, that would probably throw my head off a little
yeah,
bit. Which
yeah,
I'm sure we've all been there when we stood on the
yeah.
scale. I'm like, what's
Yeah.
going on here? And you have to sort of take your head out of it a little bit.
No, and that's where you need a good set of eyes that can look at you and go, look, it's good.
Yeah, yeah. I think last year I had a bit of a tooth infection, didn't I, Max?
yeah,
And
on the
took
antibiotics.
antibiotics, and I think I went up like 4 or 5 pounds
Yeah,
overnight. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So yeah, loads of things can
But the thing
skew
is,
it a little
with
bit.
those high days as well, is I was telling you, like, this is the body weight I want you to kind of get up to. So it's like, I was telling him, I want you to go up in body weight. So when he woke
right.
up and he was up, he's not going to panic too much,
Yeah,
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 You can have a different response as well. Like, I've seen people have high days and they drop 2 or 3 pounds off them. And it's like, okay, right, push a little bit more food in, push a little bit more food in. Because you're trying to
yeah,
drop all that fatigue and then also
yeah,
fill up a little bit.
yeah,
I always use prep as like an analogy, or analogy of prep is like you're on a long car drive. Every
yeah,
now and then you've got to refuel.
yeah,
You maybe give your car an MOT every now and then
yeah.
keep going, So, yeah.
But that always frustrates me when I see people and they're on prep and they've increased the food and they go, oh, new low, and I'm like, what? Fuck. I've only got to look at food and my weight goes up.
Yeah.
When I see people that have introduced food and there's like, yeah, they look tighter, they're leaner, and the scales come down. I've
Yeah,
never.
I feel like you have to be like actually flat depleted for
Yeah,
that to happen. Because
yeah,
otherwise, if you're not quite there and you're just emotionally adding in food, you're probably just going to wake up a lot heavier and maybe a little
yeah,
bit softer as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But be careful with it. It
Shall
would be
we?
interesting to know, Justin, if you added high days to your next prep. Because obviously, if you think about it, when you're on holiday and you're standing up and you're going hyper every minute, I wonder if you did go on 2,000 calories that day rather than 1,000, you might have seen the scale weight react and you might have gone, well, actually, I might not have to push this hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the problem that I have. Whereas I find it so hard to be objective, and I need that other set of eyes on me, and I don't, and I'll just starve myself and starve myself.
Yeah,
If you just said don't have any food today, just drink water, I'll do it.
yeah,
And it's not the best look, so I end up going flat and everything like that. But what ended up, we went out. Oh, this is ridiculous. So we went out on the Monday night, and I was flying back, I think, on the Wednesday and competing that weekend at the finals. And we went out for a meal, and I said, right, I'm going to give myself some carbs just because I've been going flat for days, still training every day, and I thought I need it. I convinced myself I needed some carbs, but that once that switch was flicked,
yeah.
I was just like the Cookie Monster. There was no carb that was out of limits, and I just gorged and gorged and gorged. Got back to the villa, gorged and gorged and gorged, and I woke up the next morning 9 pounds up, looked like shit, felt like shit. My stomach was huge. I looked all watery. I looked fucking awful, and I thought, fuck.
Yeah.
So then I just panicked for the rest of the week because I'm starving myself because I'm trying to get this back down again. And so I think at the finals, I could have screwed up my look. And I think I could, if I'd have had another set of eyes, if I'd have been doing it properly, I could have definitely bought a better look. So that didn't help me, but
Yeah.
How did you go about the peaking process then? Did you peak yourself or did you just not bother peaking? Did you just
I've
kind of,
never peaked.
yeah, I
I've never
thought
run a
so.
peak. And the reason being, again, it's one of those things that I find it really hard to know when to switch off.
Yeah,
And again, that whole being, objective with it, and because I'm on my own doing it. So I've never run a peak week. And I've always found, and I've felt as well, like when I started to introduce food and increase food, I don't look as good and sharp.
yeah,
So then, perhaps if I had someone saying to me, no, it's okay, this is just you're in the middle of the process, you need just fill up a bit more, get some more fatigue off, then you'll be okay. But then as soon as I do that for a day or two and up my food, I look shit. So then I take it back down again. So I've got, like, on all my preps, I've always dieted up to show day
yeah,
because I've kind of always figured, like, week out, this is the worst I'm going to look. So why not just keep doing what I'm doing?
yeah.
And that's kind of how I've always been. I've always been scared to up that food. So yeah, like I say, if I ever do it again, which I will do again one day, I definitely need someone on my side, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting as well. Like, I find that like for me as myself as well, when I coach myself, like I overthink a lot of it.
Yeah,
And if you can just switch off and having that ability to just go, okay, like let the coach do the thinking. That's what they're there for. And I'm just going to do as they say. I'm going to take the check-in shots, and then if you need to delete them off your phone or whatever, so you're not analysing them every
yeah.
day. It's such an easier process.
But it's just that trust issue, isn't it? You've really got to trust
Yeah, yeah,
your coach.
See, mine is, yeah, I don't trust myself, so I need to trust someone else. And that's why, yeah, letting Max take the lead with it.
Yeah,
It's-
and
it's
that way you can blame him if it goes wrong.
Didn't place, it's all your fault,
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Rather than an appreciation post at the end of prep, I'm just going to get a hate post, don't I?
Yeah,
Well,
Gee.
I'm still with you, so it can't be that bad.
yeah. You must
Anyway.
be doing something right, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, I'm going to change the topic slightly
Go
to
on.
training.
Yeah.
So, what's your approach with training? Because I know maybe 10 years ago, I remember you sending me all the Revive Stronger posts and
Yeah.
all of that after the PT session from Steve Hall.
Yeah.
But what's your approach to training now? Has that changed a little bit, or is it
I've-
similar?
my training, I think, has always been lower volume. I've kind of favoured that. Um, I've always really liked Steve's approach to things because he keeps things simple. But for me, that's just a bit too much volume. I think, and I'm not one of these people who can hold reps in reserve. So it's like, I understand the volume if you're holding reps in reserve, but why the fuck would you, I just don't, why would you not go to failure?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
understand that. I do understand it. I understand it from a recovery perspective. And, if you're not training failure, you can do more volume and therefore, but for me, I've always been low volume. And I think like even when I was training like years ago, when I was in my teens and stuff, I kind of did a variation of push pull legs then back before it was even a thing. To me, everyone had like a chest day and an arm day and a back day and a leg day and delts and all of this. And I was always like, well, if you're doing your chest, why wouldn't you just do all your pushing movements together? So I always used to do chest, shoulders, triceps, back and biceps, legs, and hit it frequently. And that's kind of how I've always done things. And I've kind of stuck to that kind of thing. I think recently I tried an upper lower split, but I found there was too much work on the upper side of things, especially by the time you're chucking in delts and arms. And I was just like, it's like training calves at the end of a leg workout. It just gets sacked off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do calves at the end, right? And 3 sets of 15, I'm done. So I then changed the upper lower split to a front back split, which was basically like quads, chest, and delts and triceps, or I'm doing posterior chain. So I'm doing hamstrings, glutes, back, biceps. That was working really well. I enjoyed that, and I could do that literally. So really low volume, like 1 or 2 sets on each thing, and I could hit everything every other day. That worked really well. And then I got to a point, it was like, I've never felt like my delts and arms are good enough. Being tall, it's really hard to get good arms and stuff like that. I mean, I'm 6'2", but like fingertip to fingertip should be the same as your height. And mine's like 6'5", so I've got long arms. So they're never going to be great. So I thought, well, I want to hit them separately. So I then started doing that variation, but hitting delts and arms as an extra session. And then I thought, right, well, so I've got 3 different train days. So now I've just gone back to push-pull legs. And
Always a go-to.
yeah, but again, it's everything's low volume. It's very rare I'll go above 2 sets of any exercise. It's like probably 2 or 3 exercises per muscle group, 1 or 2 working sets, sometimes 3, just depends. And I think now, especially like starting this new job, like I'm proper fatigued with that. I've got to be up at 5 in the morning to get the gym done. So I'm just trying to cut myself a bit of slack, but I'm still pushing it. So my mindset is like, why wouldn't you train to failure? Your training, as far as I'm concerned, should be like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to stimulate their muscles to elicit an adaptive response. And that doesn't require much.
Yeah.
That's all you're trying to do, that adaptive response. And if you can then do that more frequently, then why wouldn't you? I mean, it's fine if you want to do, 5 sets of leg press and 5 sets of hats and do all that thing. It's brilliant, but you're not going to hit them again very frequently. You're going to have a lot to recover from. So you might not be able to hit them for another week.
Yeah.
You're not going to get any more muscle growth per se.
Yeah.
I'd rather do less and hit it more frequently, because all you're doing is stimulating that adaptive response, especially as a natural as well. So
Yeah, like the productivity of set 3, 4, 5 is probably not even worth doing anyway, in my opinion.
you're just digging a bigger hole. And like Mentor always used to say, you're digging that hole. You're digging into your recovery ability.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like you've dug that hole for that adaptive, and then you've got to recover and grow from it. And if you dig such a big hole, you're not going to get any more growth from it, and you can't do it as frequently. So that's kind of my theory behind it. And
I think it's very similar to what me and Denny do. Some exercises I do 1 set, some 2, and then maybe on some isolation work I'll get away with 3, but I never go really above that. And I always find as well, reps from reserve training, unless you're like super, super experienced in training to failure, I think it's hard then to judge what is 2 reps in reserve or 1 rep in reserve.
Yeah.
Like you know.
Well,
So I think,
I think reps in reserve training more or less came from the powerlifting community.
yeah,
You know, they're doing triples, they're training fives, sevens, nines, and that sort of thing with their reps and their squats, but they're holding reps back because they want to get that volume of work, and that makes sense for them because they're trying to craft that skill. They're trying to become really super efficient at it. Whereas bodybuilding is about being inefficient with what you do, and powerlifting is like being efficient. So if you're powerlifting, you don't want to be going to failure.
yeah,
No.
You
Yeah.
you want to go right. I'm going to do 4 or 5 reps on a deadlift or a squat or whatever it is, and it's like, well, I want to do 4 or 5 sets of these. Why would you go to failure? Because they need to get that. So
Yeah.
that's where it came from. I think is the powerlifting community, and then the bodybuilding's adapted it, and that obviously there's a crossover, but yeah, I think to me, powerlifting it's be as efficient as possible, and bodybuilding in some contexts is about being as inefficient as possible.
Yeah.
You're not trying to make it easier, so therefore you're not cheating.
yeah,
Yeah. 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 You're trying to get the most out of the least, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Of course, of course. Right, should we move on to questions?
Let's.
Got some viewer questions. I haven't got loads of questions, by the way, because I put out the story box quite late.
Yeah. Same.
But I've got one from Cameron. Pretty basic question: bumper plates or iron plates?
Oh,
Depends what for.
yeah. I mean, if you're deadlifting, I think bumper plates just feel nicer.
Yeah.
Iron plates, like a muscle hut using them iron plates. Oh, you feel
Yeah.
weak as hell because they feel heavier.
I mean, I put a bumper plate on first and then the iron plates afterwards.
Yeah,
So
I
one,
love
it's
the
easier
story.
to get
I
on
love
and
the
off.
sound of it.
The sound of it's
iron
cool,
plates.
but yeah, like
the
there's
sound of
things
it's good. Like if you watch Pumping Iron back in the day with Arnold and he's slapping them plates on, and it sounds good. And back in the day when I trained, there was no rubber plates anywhere. Back in the 80s, it was all iron stuff. But yeah, rubber all day long. I think on that.
Yeah, I mean, a true 45-pound plate is actually 20.4 kilos, so they are technically heavier.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah,
Stronger.
there you go.
Got another question from Josh Dandy. He said, music, films, and TV, YouTube you can't watch / listen to one ever again. Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay.
That makes sense.
so we can only pick.
Yeah, you can only pick one.
So what was the options?
So music, films, TV, or YouTube.
What that we can only watch once or never
Yeah.
watch again.
So
You can only pick one platform.
you can only pick one. Yeah, that you can watch or listen to something again.
Mine would be YouTube
So you
Yeah,
can take
YouTube.
YouTube.
because you
Really?
can have everything. You can have films, podcasts,
Oh, that's a
music.
cheat. Come on, that's such a cheat question.
Yeah, I love YouTube. I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna go music, even though you get that off YouTube. But I
Fair.
think he means it like it. Right, either music or films, or either TV or YouTube. I think that's maybe what he's trying to ask.
Okay.
Josh, you're
Music.
gonna have to clarify this question
Yeah,
in
it's
the
a bit of a
DMs,
vague
bro.
question. Bit of a vague question. There's too many loopholes.
Too many loopholes.
Have you got many more, or was it just two for you?
I've just got a couple, yeah.
So I've got one from Graham Mansell. Mansell Fitness. What's something you wish you knew when you first started going to the gym?
Ooh, but there's no magic foods.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, that's probably it. There's no magic. Do you know what? Because when I first started, I read a lot. Back in the day, there was no internet, and I used to get Bodybuilder Monthly magazine. I used to. Obviously, the pictures were great, and listening to they'd have write-ups on what the guys were training. But I used to read a lot of the editorials, so I educated myself about a lot of stuff, and it used to go into the science of it. But yeah, I think for a long time I thought there was magic foods, and there's not, and thank fuck for the internet because people actually understand now that calorie deficit is actually quite important, and they
Yeah.
realise macros are quite important and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean my first prep it was just ridiculous, and then now I can eyeball it and get in better condition, although I
Yeah.
wouldn't advise it. But yeah, if I wish I understood there was no magic foods.
Yeah. Mine probably be less is more when it comes to training
Yeah,
because I was spending too long doing one thing in the gym and
Belt
spending too
races.
long just training in general when I wasn't
Yeah,
being productive.
yeah.
No,
So yeah, that'd be mine. You,
spot
Max?
on. Don't underestimate just hard work.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I haven't got great. I've said it so many times. I don't think my genetics are the greatest. But the physique I've built is just through being consistent and just putting in the work for it.
Yeah.
Um, and understanding it takes time as well, and you can always
Yes.
learn more.
Yeah.
I think people really do underestimate the amount of time it takes.
Yeah,
Really do. And again, especially for natural,
Yeah. It's
it's
before
like
your average Joe as well. Like you'll have some freaks and they're the ones that people see. They're like, oh, that person started off at 90 kilos at the age of 18, but that's not really the case for most people.
yeah, there aren't many of those about. There really aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It is. I think when it comes to natural bodybuilding, everyone just thinks that it's going to be within a year that are going to look completely different, and unfortunately, um, it's not like that. It's a long process.
Yeah.
Speaking of natural bodybuilding, what was the obviously you knew someone from your gym who did natural bodybuilding. Have you ever wanted to go down the assisted route, or was it like it was
Uh,
just a stay
so,
natural?
so as regards the assisted route, so when I was 20, I did a 6-week course of steroids. I took Dynabol, didn't know what the fuck I was doing with it or anything like that. And back then in the 80s, if you were bodybuilding and you joined the gym, that was the first, that was just a given. Everyone took steroids, and my mate was injecting himself with testosterone. And he said, "Oh, you should jump on the gear. You should jump on the gear." And I was training. I was working in construction at the time, and I used like training 6 days a week, doing a full day work at construction, going to the gym in the evening. And my diet was really clean. Obviously zero carbs. It was just chicken and stuff like that. So, I held myself back a lot there. And but my mate was like, "Oh, you should get on it because like your training's good, your diet's good to get on it." So he convinced me and he gave me these tablets. Didn't know what the hell I was doing with them. Took them for about 6 weeks, and my squat in I think 6 to 8 weeks went from a plate a side to 5 plates a side.
Man.
And it worked. And then I got really ill. I think I got tonsillitis, and I was in bed for 2 weeks. Lost all my weight and all my gains that I'd made, and then for the next probably 2 years, I got tonsillitis several times a year, every year for the next couple of years. And then ever since then, I've had really bad hay fever. And I think to myself in the back of my mind, has that done something to me physiologically? Has it messed up my immune system? Has it caused any? So I did that. What was I? I was 20 years old. It was 1990. So it was a long time ago. So I can never claim full natty status on that point of view. I obviously would I say I'm glad I did it? Well, I would say never regret anything, but I wouldn't want to do it again. But as regards to now as a natty, and at my age, there's obviously the temptation just to go on HRT or something like that
Yeah,
because I don't feel as great as I felt in my 30s, even my 40s. It's hard going, but then there's also a part of me that's prideful and like, do you know what? I'm not in bad nick for someone my age, and I'd like to be able to still be doing this when I'm in my 60s and even my 70s, and not be assisted. As
Yeah.
tempting as it is to think, oh, I'd love my testosterone to be a little bit higher,
Yeah.
but where does that end? I mean, I could say I'll take enough testosterone to keep me at the higher end of the physiological range, but I'd never want to come off it.
yeah,
Who would? I'd never want to come off it. And it's like, do I want to do that for the rest of my life? No, I don't. So it's like, be thankful for what I've got. I'm still in pretty good health. I still think I'm making gains now.
yeah.
I can still
Yeah.
improve my physique. So the temptation's there, but I'm happy to stay natural now.
Yeah. I mean, if I can look like you at, did you say you was 55?
Yeah. Well, 55 later this year. Yeah.
If I can look like you at 55, it's mission accomplished.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is cool.
Um,
It's cool.
got one more on my end. Shall I answer it? Yeah, so from Cameron again. So it says, what does your recovery look like? So we've covered some bits from that, but
My recovery is pretty organic, really. I try not to structure it in. It just depends on how I feel. If I'm feeling beat up, then take another day. I mean, it's a bit different for me now because I've gone from, I was 32 years as a firefighter working shifts. And obviously some of our shifts we'd have to do a 24-hour shift, and sometimes you feel quite tired, and I'll be like, well, I'll just have a day off the gym. It's not going to hurt, and the gym session, if I do go, isn't going to be that productive, so why not just have another day off? So I could be quite organic with it. I'm not as rigid and regimented as I used to be, and I've found that being a bit more fluid with it is actually a bit better. But equally, I'm not averse to saying, well, I'm going to go every day this week because I can, and I know my recovery is going to be all right because I'm not going to be missing too much sleep. I've not got too many other things to concern myself with. At the moment, it's a bit of a struggle, like I say, because I've started this new job, and because I'm now working and I've joined the working world of working every day, and it's in a school as well, which is pretty intense. So I'm up at 5, so I'm just being gentle to myself at the moment. But yeah, recovery looks like if I feel I need it, I'll take it. I don't necessarily think that you always need to take a deload. I think, people structure them in, and fair enough if that's what people want to do and structure them in. I think there's a benefit to that because it can refocus you. But yeah, again, it's just one of the things, like, try and listen to your body a bit. But but I also recognise there has to be a time when you have to say, "But put your big boy pants on." It's going to fucking hurt, and push yourself. I mean, you don't see Olympic athletes, like the track and field athlete. They're not taking a deload. They're not having an extra day of rest. They're working out 8 hours a day, every day for months to get to the Olympics.
Yeah, there's that element of, like, it's going to suck sometimes, and sometimes you just need to work through it.
Yeah, but also to keep in the back of your mind that this is a marathon, not a sprint. It is a long-term thing. And as I said earlier, I'm grateful to be the age I am and in reasonable condition. And actually, in fact, this is my fitness test. This is how I gauge my level of fitness. If I can put my socks on standing up, I'm winning, because it means I've not got too much timber around the middle, and I've got some flexibility, and my back isn't fucked. So that's my go-to. But I think to myself, I want to be doing. I love this. I love the gym environment. I love being around people that are in the gym and seeing people push themselves. And I want to be doing this for another at least 15, 20 years.
That's cool.
That's good.
I think as well, like with the deloads, people don't push themselves that hard to actually feel fatigued. Like, I think we've all been there when we've been like, I need to take a couple of days off now because I'm feeling absolutely trashed. But a lot of people haven't experienced that. So I think it's good for when you realise that you're trashed, and then you can go, okay, that's how I should feel when I need to take a deload, rather than just structuring them in every 8 weeks because, some geezer on Instagram told you need to schedule it in.
Yeah. I think that's whereby being a bit smart and listening to your body is quite important, but lots of people don't know how to, and I get it. It does take a while to get to know yourself, and also a lot of people don't really know what is actually pushing myself, because there's an element of that's required, and then people also convince themselves to go, and it's fine to have an extra day of rest if you need it, but ask yourself, do you really need it? Because sometimes you've just got to go, no, get it fucking done. As long as you're sleeping 8 hours a night, you don't need an extra day of rest. And as long as your food's there. It is an extreme sport.
So you've got to do some extreme things sometimes.
Okay, I've got a question from Generation X Strength. What are your current body goals? Do you have any goals that feel impossible?
My current body goals, to keep improving, and so to keep improving. So I've got in the back of my mind I'd love to compete again. When that'll be, I don't know, but I still want to improve. I think the thing that I found beneficial this time around is not to allow my off season to run away with me. So I've kept a close check on my weight. So it's been a slow off season. So I'm only gaining probably 1 kilo a month. Like, I've gone up to, like, my body weight's gone up to like 230 before, and I compete at 180. So, but at my age, the skin doesn't ping back like it used to, and I discovered that in my last show. It's like, fuck me, you get baggy skin now when you're in your 50s, which isn't an attractive look, and we're doing this to look better ultimately. So now I'm trying to keep, like, throughout a growing phase, not let my body weight go above 215. And then, I'm not, there's no need for me to get to 230. All right, it looks great in clothes because you look like a meathead and stuff like that. But I don't want to be like that. So I'd like keep that in check. And yeah, so my body goals are to still grow, but still stay in reasonable condition. I want to be able to take my shirt off and not feel conscious.
Yeah.
Cool. He's also got another question. He says, "I'm a lifetime fat natty that is powerlifting."
I think that's Herb, isn't it?
Hey,
Do you remember Herb, Justin?
I know, Herb, yeah.
Yeah.
can you help me drop some fat and stay strong?
Listen, Herb, I've tried to help you so many times in the past. So Herb used to message me all the time back in the day when I was working at Fitness First and when I was running the PT and then. And he's a great guy and he's strong as hell, but he was always in the back of his mind. He's like, he wants to be strong, but he doesn't want to carry the extra weight. But I think he's accepted the fact that himself now that actual being strong is the focus. You've got to have a focus. You've got to pick where you want to be. And I think he's found where his strengths lie, and that is in his strength. He's phenomenal. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty impressive. I remember him from the gym a few years ago. Pretty mad.
Yeah.
Cool. That's all the questions.
It's been good.
Fantastic.
Right. So I'll end out the podcast, but Justin, before I do, where can people find you? Give yourself a little bit of a shout out. Instagram.
So I'm on Instagram just as Justin Venes. I post some training stuff on there, not hugely. There's a lot of family stuff on there as well. I'm not, because I'm not in the fitness industry, I'm not trying to push myself as a PT. I just hopefully some of the stuff inspires some people. I do a lot of artwork in my spare time, so I've got an art page as well on my Instagram, which is Justin Venes Art, because that's a bit of a passion of mine. But yeah, if you feel the need to go and have a follow and see an old man that might inspire you, come along.
Some people want to see it. Some people want to see it for sure. Right, everyone. Thank you for listening to episode 14 of the Natty Blueprint podcast. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Otherwise, Denny's getting balls deep now in prep, and he will be at your front door.
Be at your house again.
Make sure you like the video. And thank you for watching. Cheers.